It's a decisive day for the people of South Africa and for its political leaders. People across the country are voting in provincial and national elections today, which are being touted as historic for more than one reason. President Cyril Ramaphosa is eyeing a second term, but the African National Congress, which has remained a dominant political force since the anti-apartheid struggle, has witnessed a fall in support. What are the reasons for this anti-incumbency wave in South Africa? Which way will the country's political landscape shift? South Africans have to decide today. Here's our report.
I should have brought hand warmers or gloves at least.
It's my first time voting, yes, and I'm feeling very excited but nervous.
Historic day. It's everyone's constitutional right to vote.
I understand that it's a very important decision to make.
I hope to see something different in the future.
I'm just really interested on where this country is going to go now from this election because it's really a critical point right now.
May 29th. It is D-Day for South Africa. The country is holding its 7th democratic general election since the end of apartheid in 1994. Over 27 million eligible voters, 9 provinces and 257 municipalities, more than 23,000 polling stations, a new National Assembly and a new president for the next 5 years. South Africa votes. First things first. How does South Africa's election work? The country has a proportional voting system. Parties and candidates compete for 400 seats in the National Assembly. For the first time, independent candidates are also competing. So this year, voters received 3 ballots, instead of 2, each required a choice of one party or candidate. 2 ballots for electing National Assembly, and 3rd for provincial legislature in each of South Africa's 9 provinces.
The first is the national ballot, or the blue ballot. Now this remains the same across the country. Using this, the voters elect one of 52 political parties. This is for the 200 seats in the National Assembly. Next is the orange ballot for the Regional National Assembly. Now this is unique to each province. With this, voters elect either a political party or an independent candidate. And this is for the remaining 200 seats in the National Assembly. The third is the pink ballot for provincial legislature. Now this also is unique to each province. Voters elect political parties and independent candidates with this, and the number of seats is determined by the population size in each province.
South Africans do not vote directly for the president. Instead, they elect 400 members of National Assembly, who then select the president by a simple majority. This is how South Africa's current National Assembly looks like. The African National Congress has 230 seats. Democratic Alliance, 84 seats. Economic Freedom Fighters or the EFF, 44 seats. And Inkatha Freedom Party or the IFP, 14 seats. Other parties take up the remaining 28 seats. The ANC has been dominant for 30 years, but this year the party faces its toughest election yet. Opinion polls say it may not get a majority and may drop below 50% for the first time. And if these polls are correct, then today's ballot could herald a new phase in South African politics. That of a coalition government. The drop in the ANC's popularity can be attributed to several factors. The country has been grappling with high cost of living. Rising crime rate has plagued South Africa for years. Unemployment has hit young people particularly hard. And there has been no respite from regular power cuts.
South Africa, we are facing with high rates of unemployment. Things are very tough in this country.
The infrastructure is crumbling. Water's, of course, going downhill, but it's going down the wrong drain.
I'm now for 4 years unemployed, and one son is at school, and my daughter, she's as well unemployed. So it's hard for us to come by just for that little of money. I would like to have a job, any job.
If we can look at the South Africa at the state right now, look at the rape. It's going up. Look at the electricity. Look at the crime. Like the crime is it's getting up. It's getting higher. And even us as black women, we are not safe. And let's check at the unemployment. It's just a lot.
Among all these concerns, corruption remained on top of the list. Many voters say the ANC has not done justice to the country. They call President Ramaphosa's term disastrous.
My God, it's been a disaster. We trusted them. We trusted them and we gave them like many chances.
I can imagine our freedom fighters fighting so much for freedom, and this is how it ends up. I feel like it's disappointing.
We thought the economy is going to get better, our jobs, unemployment, and everything that's related to economy would get better. But he's failed so badly in that.
After his fallout with the ANC, former President Jacob Zuma put his weight behind the MK party and had been campaigning relentlessly to dent support for his former party. While he may be able to do so, many voters do not see a comeback this year for corruption-charged Zuma.
I personally feel President Jacob Zuma had his chance, and I feel like we should give someone else a chance to show and prove themselves.
They'll get 10 to 15%. It's not going to give them enough to have power over this country. But what it'll do then, it'll give them, they become like a kingmaker, where they can choose whether to go back or to do a coalition with the ANC, to stick on their own, or to join the multi-party charter.
Will President Cyril Ramaphosa and the African National Congress witness a historic wave of anti-incumbency? If there is a swing, could it bring greater political power and influence for Zuma? Or will it open doors for other opposition parties like the Democratic Alliance? South Africa has made its decision, and the results shall be announced on June 2nd.
I am currently at a polling station in Durban, South Africa, and we are bringing you all the live events from the ground. I have cast my vote. I have also been interacting with South African voters who have come out in huge numbers today to exercise their franchise in the democratic process. Let's take a look.
We're full of hope for today. Lots and lots of prayers have gone into this. A lot of work has gone into this. So we just hope that ultimately the right results will come through and we'll be able to fix this country.
It's good to see the people out voting. I think the polls will be one of the biggest polls I think we've had in a long time, probably since '94. So I'm excited to see what changes will come about.
What I'd hope to see is just that there's a lot of integrity that's introduced into the government and a lot more transparency and accountability, that they completely rethink some of their fundamental economic policies.
Let's put an end to corruption and hopefully to fix the infrastructure of South Africa and put a final end to load shedding.
We do know that the elections are neck and neck and nobody's going to have an outright majority.
We made a major decision because our country has been falling down and it needs to be resurrected again.
I've got a heart for the older people. I would really like to see the older people taken care of in this country in terms of that grant that they get. I mean, it's such a measly little amount of money.
Less corruption, more schools, better healthcare systems publicly for the people. The list is endless, honestly.
I mean, the vibe has been absolutely amazing at all 5 of our voting stations here in Ward 35. There's a lot of positivity. And obviously, yes, I am the DA, so I'm quite excited to see a lot of our folk coming out in the colour blue. So yeah, there's a lot of support, which is amazing.
I'm coming to you from a polling station in Durban, South Africa. I've been here throughout the day and the turnout has been incredible, with streams of voters flowing in throughout the day, queuing up around the block, excited to exercise their franchise and make their voice heard for the future of our country. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Professor William Gumede, who is the founder of Democracy WF, joining us live from Johannesburg. Thank you for being with us, Professor.
No, I'm very happy to be with you.
Right, let's jump right in. The voter turnout has already exceeded the previous election. There are queues of people here. What was the mood on the ground like where you cast your ballot, and what was the voter turnout there?
I mean, I think it's very, very exciting. It's very optimistic. I mean, I remember 1994, which ended Apartheid, that election. You know, it's getting close to that. I think there's an air of expectation that there's going to be change. Actually, you know, in the queues where I was this morning, I'm in a suburb here in Johannesburg, in Greenside, so leafy suburb. It was all good natured, very, you know, people very excited. People came with small children, the prams. It really was an optimistic mood and a hopeful mood.
Absolutely. And Professor, what issues do you think are the most important for the voters in this election?
Yes, I mean, first, just, the turnout is going to be key, and I didn't respond to that. I mean, a high turnout really will take the ANC to that 40% floor and will make it very difficult for it to put a government together. A lower turnout will favor the ANC, which means that, they could get to sort of 49, 48, 47, and then they will be able to put together a government with some of the smaller parties. I think the big thing for South Africans now, that people are really worried about is, starting with crime. I mean, 80 murders a day. And according to the World Bank, 10% of South Africa's GDP is being eaten away by crime, and I think that's very conservative. I would think actually it's most probably a double that figure. Then unemployment. I mean, we're sitting at 42% unemployment. I mean, that's the world's highest unemployment in Africa. The only other country with a higher unemployment is Sudan, and Sudan is a war-torn country. And if you look at young people who are unemployed, we've got 60% unemployed among young people. And then there's also the high living costs. It really, the costs of living, and people are struggling. Families are really struggling to make ends meet. And then the total failure in parts of the state to deliver services.
Yeah. Right. And Professor, how do you see the possibility of coalition shaping the landscape of our future, especially considering this might very well be the first election where the ANC does not garner the 50+1% support?
Yeah, no, I think it's very likely we are going to get a coalition for the first time in our post-1994 history at a national level, and possibly some of the provinces. I mean, KwaZulu-Natal province, for example, Gauteng, we may see a coalition. And these days, it may even look like Mpumalanga, that used to be a stronghold of the ANC. There may be a coalition there also. First thing, just about coalitions actually, the model of coalition is actually the best model for diverse countries like South Africa. And in Africa, incidentally, since the end of colonialism, it has been the most successful model of government, not like dominant party governments or even dictatorships and so on. We are entering the era now of coalitions. I think because the ANC has failed so badly the last 30 years, I think it's very unlikely that we're going to get dominant parties like the ANC again after this election. I think people will be very reluctant to give one party overall support going forward. And I think we now are going to have to prepare ourselves either for an ANC coalition with parties or for a multi-party charter coalition with smaller parties.
Yeah. Absolutely, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us on Firstpost Africa for the special edition and all the election coverage. Your valued insights. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
South Africa's May 29th elections.
There was a start of change in the country.
We are on the verge of history.
I am standing here at the forefront of change where voices echo the call for action. The nation grapples with an unemployment crisis. As South Africans prepare to cast their votes, the question looms, will the winds of change usher in a new era, or will the legacy of the past maintain its grip on the future?